Our Monday one-on-one today is with Robert Schwebel. Dr. Schwebel is a clinical psychologist and longtime Tucsonan who directed a drug treatment agency here in town in the early 1980s. He began his writing career with a weekly psychology column in the Arizona Daily Star from 1983 to 1991. In the late 1980s, he co-authored the book A Guide to a Happier Family, then wrote Saying No is Not Enough, helping children make wise decisions about alcohol and other drugs. A few years later, he wrote Who's on Top, Who's on Bottom, How Couples Can Learn to Share Power. In 1990, he began a drug treatment program for adolescents and now adults that's widely used across the United States and in Canada and even in Europe. His most recent book is Leap of Power, Take Control of Alcohol, Drugs, and Your Life. Right now he's working on a new project developing what he calls mastery counseling. Dr. Schwebel, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Good to be here with you.
Tell me a little bit about, well, the book I'm referring to, this book, this drug treatment program. It is a book, but it's also a treatment program, the 7 challenges, widely used. But you've been quoted as saying there is no such thing as drug counseling. What do you mean by that?
When I say that, what I mean is that life counseling and drug counseling can't be separated. They're really one of the same things, that when people use drugs, it's because of what's going on in their lives, and when they use drugs, it affects what's going on in their lives. So there have been these attempts to say, well, if someone has a drug problem, just talk about drugs, and that's it. But people are using drugs for a reason. It's connected to what's going on in their lives.
So much of drug counseling, you have the counselors would they focus on, why don't I put it this way? Do they focus enough about the harm that drugs do, Dr. Schwebel?
Well, I think that actually relates to the first question you asked, that the focus is very, very narrowly on the harm. And it makes sense. Intuitively, you think, well, people have a drug problem. If we want to are using drugs, if we want to help motivate them to change, we have to help them become aware of the harm. But the fact of the matter is, they know they're being harmed by drugs.
Instinctively, they would know that drugs are not helping them, wouldn't they?
Exactly, and it's like beating a dead horse, and actually making people feel worse. It does this to you and it does that to you. Don't you recognize how terrible this is? And that, I guess it comes from the old days of thinking about drug problems. It used to be viewed kind of as just a moral problem. There's something wrong with you as a person. That's why you do it.
Is this something that you could kind of characterize as harm-based counseling?
Yes, and that's what's widely practiced. Harm-based counseling. We focus on the harm from the drugs, but we don't talk about the rest of your life. And that's what we talked. Your first question was about that, about calling it drug treatment. It's really life counseling with paying attention to the drugs and incorporating work on drugs. So yes, you look at the harm, but I think the interesting thing, Bill, is that people know they've been beaten to death about the harm. They've heard it over and over again. They turn on the news, they know about it. Mm-hmm. So people know about it. Why do we harp on that? That hasn't stopped them.
Well, should we be talking about drug benefits?
Well,
yes, that's kind of I'm sure some listeners are saying, "Whoa." Do we want to go down that road?
Well, you see, I think we absolutely do, because if you think about it, the most interesting question is, people know about the harm from drugs. They've heard it over and over again. They've seen public service announcements. They may have experienced harm themselves. They may have family members who have been harmed. They know about the harm. What is it about drugs that is so compelling that people keep coming back for more despite the harm? Well, why is it, Bill? Exactly what you said. They come back for the benefits from drugs. A lot of people don't like talking about that. They think you're encouraging drug use or something. But, people use drugs to feel good. People use drugs for pleasure. People use drugs to alleviate pain, to cope with life. That's why they're using it. So to tell them it's harming you doesn't work. What we have to begin to do is talk with them and say, what is it you like? What brings you? Why do you keep doing it? What needs are you meeting from your drugs? What are the benefits of drugs? When people realize what the benefits are, like it helps me relax at night, well, counselors can help with the insomnia. It helps when I'm anxious. Counselors can teach relaxation skills or talk about what are the life problems that are making you anxious.
This makes sense on so many levels, because you're using that as an entry point to when you sit down with somebody and, well, what is it that what benefits do you feel you're getting out of drugs? And then you can go down a different avenue that is not as harmful. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Exactly. It's disarming. I mean, people who come to drug counseling expect you to talk about all the bad things about drugs and even the bad things about the people who use drugs. And it's very disarming to say, what do you like about drugs? What do you get from them? And, well,
you know what the backlash is. People are going to say, and I'm sure there are some people listening to this interview right now with you, Dr. Schwebel, saying you're promoting drug use when you talk about the benefit of drugs with clients.
Yes. And you're absolutely right. That is a criticism that we hear when we begin to talk about it. But as people listen and come to understand it, they realize that we're not encouraging drug use. There's a difference between saying, let's try to understand what's going on. Let's try to figure out what needs you're meeting from your drug use. Once we know what needs you're meeting from your drug use, we can help you figure out alternative ways to meet those needs. So there's a difference between helping people understand what they're doing from encouraging them.
Does this lead to what you're calling mastery counseling?
Well,
is this mastery? What is mastery counseling?
Yeah, well, the whole idea of mastery counseling really came from working with people who had drug problems and with counselors all the counselors were doing were talking about the harm from drugs and harping on the harm.
Sure. Right.
And I had to figure out a way to help these people kind of introduce them to what are the basics, what is the core of life counseling. Because as I said, and as you quoted me, there's no such thing as drug counseling. It's really life counseling that incorporates work on drugs. And when people come in because they're unhappy about their drug use, I think it's a relief to them to say, let's not look at this as like just a drug problem. It's a life problem that involves drugs.
Let's talk more about mastery counseling after we take the break. But before we take the break, quick question came in. One of our Facebook friends, David, wants to know, what does your guest think about the use of microdosing mushrooms or use of other psychedelics to end addiction? Any thoughts on that?
Well, that's a little bit of a curveball, but
I know.
There's research on that, and there's some real validation of its potential effectiveness. It's interesting. Timothy Leary was doing that in the 60s. That's how he got run out of Harvard University.
What's old is new again, isn't it, when it comes to this? Anyway.
One other thing, Bill. I think it is being legalized, sale to the public of mushrooms, I believe, in Oregon.
Okay, I think I heard that as well. All right, good conversation. That's why they sponsor the one-on-one, and that's what we're having today with Dr. Robert Schwebel. Good conversation. Dr. Schwebel, longtime clinical psychologist in Tucson. He's got numerous books. His drug treatment program, The 7 Challenges, is being used. It's a program for adolescents, now adults, widely used across North America, and now even in Europe. His latest project is something called Mastery Counseling. And Dr. Schwebel, we started to touch on it before the break. Again, tell us about Mastery Counseling. I know that Mastery Counseling is your main interest right now. And how does that relate to your previous work on drugs?
Well, the way it relates is it's basically life counseling. And what I wanted to do was get to the core of the issue of what is counseling? What is the counseling profession about? And basically, it's about people come in because they're distressed. And somehow what we want to do is help them leave feeling better with things
of course.
Better.
I mean, that's why they come, right? Presumably to get better.
Exactly. And
unless they're being ordered by like a court or something, you must go to this, but that's kind of a different area.
Even then you have to win them over, that somehow you have to show that their life's going to get better.
Yes.
So this actually evolved because I was working with clients with drug problems and with counselors who were counseling them. And I tried to figure out what's the best way to get these counselors to move off of drugs and begin to talk about people's lives. And in fact, what your comment about when people are forced to go, that somehow I think it's so important to destigmatize mental health and getting help with problems. So I started thinking about it, and I started thinking about what I call mastery living. And mastery living is what people who want to take charge of their own lives do. They take a look at what's going on in their own lives, and whatever's going well, they leave it as is. And whatever's not going well, or as well as they would like it to be going, is an issue. They identify it as an issue, and they work on it. That's what people do who want to take control of their lives. That's what hopefully you and I do, Bill, that we and the listeners, that's how you make sure things are going the way you want it to be going. Well, that destigmatizes problems. We all have problems. And life counseling, mastery counseling, is an extension of mastery living. It's saying to our clients when they come in, what's going on in your life that's not going as well as you would like it to be going, or that is a problem for you? And let's call that your issue, and you can work on it in here. And it gives us the ability to say to them, look, you have issues, I have issues. No one has a perfect life. Let's figure out what's not going well for you, or as well as you'd like it to be going, and let's work on it on every session. And mastery counseling is working on it in every session. I kind of developed, a 6-stage process, starting with clients identifying the issue.
Sometimes simplicity, Dr. Schwebel, is the best path, and this sounds almost too simple.
I know, and I think that it sounds simple because I've lost that our culture has lost sight of the basics of mastery living, of the fact that if you're in distress, let's take the problem apart systematically, and that instead, I think that the criticism is. It sounds so simple. I think it kind of goes the other way, that I'm concerned that psychology and the counseling professions and social work and psychiatrists have overcomplicated it with really fancy words, white coats that they wear. And now, that's one of the things when I'm actually training counselors, I often say, don't go in, don't try to be a make-believe doctor with a white coat on like you're a medical doctor.
Just coming in with a white coat, there are a lot of us, when we see the white coat, we have white coat syndrome. It just it's a turnoff. And our blood pressure goes up just seeing a doctor in a white coat. So, yeah.
And then, Bill, imagine going into someone who kind of communicates that same feeling and thinking, I need to talk about the most basic things in my life to this person.
I don't think so. It would be a hindrance, I think, to a lot of people. I want to also mention the whole thing with the kids looking at the devices, and not just kids. There is a digital media addiction right now in this country. Are you concerned about it? Very concerned.
And we see a lot of it. A lot of kids with drug issues also have media issues. And, it's important. We don't want to get when radio came, people had a panic. What's it going to do to us? When TV came, what's it going to do to us? And now with digital media. But it's funny you mention it, because we're actually working on a program with some people in Utah to help with digital addiction, because we have kids who are not doing their homework, or staying up all night with their phones. And by the way, we talked about life counseling. Kids are using digital media the way other people use drugs. When they're stressed out, it's a way to relieve it. When they want social contact, it's a way to connect with other people. There are benefits to it. There are many benefits. It's not going away. It can be a wonderfully powerful, positive aspect of our lives. But like drugs, it's reinforcing. You know, you do it and it relieves stress. Everything that's reinforcing, we're likely to do again. You do a drug, it relieves stress, we'll do it again. You get on digital media, it relieves stress, you do it again. You do it because you want to have fun, you do it again. So the same processes happen with digital media.
Yeah, I was just wondering what would be the mastery counseling approach to getting someone, maybe they feel they're addicted to the media. How would the mastery counseling work? The old way, I assume, would be, you've got to stop this. You're really, really harming yourself. But that's kind of the old way we've been talking about. What about your way?
That's right. It's just like with drugs, you know. Say no to drugs. What do we tell our kids? Say no to telephones? I mean, no. They're here to stay.
Yeah.
What we want to do with telephones is what we actually do in 7 Challenges with Counseling, is help people figure out how to take control of it. And the mastery counseling approach is what needs. Let's figure out what needs this is meeting for you, and let's support you. You know, if you're doing it when you're stressed, you just had a fight with your parents, for example. Talking about younger people, now you go up and get on your digital media. Let's talk about other ways you can handle the difference with your parents and help. We do this with drugs. We would do it with digital media, which is we're not here to take it away. Let's figure out how to help you figure out how you can take control of this digital media.
Is there something in the human being that wants to be addicted to something?
See, I don't think we want to be addicted, but we are animals. And when a behavior is particularly reinforcing, we repeat it. That's just nature. And if we keep repeating use of digital media, we'll do it more. And brain connections will be made that lead us to go back to what works. The idea, and you asked about mastery counseling, is let's help people find other ways to meet the same needs. So I don't think it's that we want to be addicted. It's that we don't have better ways, or we haven't yet learned better ways to meet our needs, and we're stuck relying on our telephones or some weed or some alcohol or whatever it happens to be.
Are you at all concerned about what the growth of marijuana around the country? Is that something that's not that big a deal in your opinion? We have more and more states now that have legalized not only the medicinal use of marijuana but also recreational. It's interesting because there's still a federal law prohibiting the marijuana, but then you have all these individual states, including Arizona, where it's legal.
Well, I am much more concerned with what is it about the quality of life in our culture that leads people to feel so lost, so distressed, so miserable, and so hopeless that they're turning to these substances. We did prohibition, and that didn't work.
Right.
And, we basically have done prohibition with marijuana, and that didn't work. So I don't think taking away telephones or marijuana or alcohol back in the old days is going to be effective.
You're saying let's look at the root cause. Why do we feel that we need these substances?
And to tie it all
really
together,
the bottom line.
It's life counseling. What's going on in our life.
Where can people find out more about Dr. Robert Schwebel and your books and what you do? What would be a good place?
Well, our program is called 7 Challenges. So the word, not the digit, 7challenges.com talks about our program. I have a personal website, which is my name, Robert, and then my last name, Schwebel, SCHWEBEL. B as in boy, EL.com. That has information.